We got a lot of stuff on the docket today. So yeah, let's hop right into those, Jeremy. Because you went to you took the time to go through and kind of clean up and really fix up the two subclasses that you had made for our lab experiments segment.
Yeah, so lab experiments, for those unaware, it is a quick 1-hour segment. We do them, looks like maybe once a month-ish on this channel, maybe a little less often.
It's probably going to be somewhere in the ballpark of that.
But anyway, it's a quick 1-hour homebrew kind of sprint where we create some kind of content in just 1 hour. And the last two that we did were subclasses, where we were posed ideas and had to come up with a subclass in an hour. And I've cleaned mine up. So first we have our Dragon Warlock, otherwise known as the Otherworldly patron, the Wyrm. Or the Wyrm, if you want to pronounce it weirdly, but whatever.
Good choice to go from Dragon to Wyrm. The Wyrm definitely sounds more Warlocky.
So with all of these, we have our little tagline at the front: tear apart your foes, breathe the breath of dragons, and bring to bear their ancient will. Wield the awesome power of dragonkind with this subclass of the Warlock in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I love that little. I love having the little tag. If the little tag doesn't get you excited, then
the elevator pitch for the Wyrm.
I've heard it pronounced worm, Wyrm, vorm even.
I like Wyrm.
I like it with the Wyrm actually, but that's some weird.
The Wyrm.
Yeah, so let's just dive through this one really quickly. You can find this again on our website, D&D Time. I'll add you the link.
You can also watch the you can also watch the video in which this was created. You can see kind of the creative process during lab experience that me and Jeremy kind of do is definitely a lot more chaotic than maybe our normal one. But it's still you can get a little insight into how we think about design there if you're interested in seeing the process.
Yeah, so this is a dragon warlock. My intent with this was because the warlock has an otherworldly patron. It doesn't have a worldly patron. And I think that's the reason that the dragon warlock doesn't already exist. But the concept I went with was untethered from material concerns. Your patron seeks to gain influence over the esoteric matters which direct the universe. Any dragon to achieve the means of traversing the multiverse or to have gained access to power beyond that of mundane dragons could be a Wyrm patron. And Eberron, it could be among those dragons closest to grasping the truth of the draconic prophecy and unlocking its foretelling secrets. In the multiverse of Magic the Gathering, your patron could be an elder dragon like Nico Bolas, enacting schemes upon ancient schemes. So you just got a really fucking cool dragon.
Yeah, you got a rad dragon. It's
the cool NPC dragon that every dungeon master absolutely has.
And if you sort of an elder dragon Highlander.
So the main feature about this warlock is they have their draconic endowment, and a lot of their stuff kind of works around that. And the idea is, as a bonus action, they can manifest this draconic endowment, this gift of draconic power, and it gives them certain benefits. One of them, it gives them one of the benefits is it gets some claws, which are D8 weapons. So this is a melee warlock, and they can use their charisma modifier for attacks with these weapons. And then the other one is they get draconic scales, and I ended up going with your armor class can't be less than 16 while you have these draconic scales. I added a little sidebar here talking about draconic endowment. If you want it to be a physical, you Wolverine out claws, or if they're spectral claws, or maybe they're fire if your patron is a fiery dragon, and just talked about ways that you can kind of imagine your draconic endowment being.
Yeah, it's always nice to have those little flavor things. I love as a player having those extra here's kind of what we intended for the design. I like to hear that thought from the people who made it, because sometimes those little bits of clarity don't come across just in you have claws.
Yeah, exactly. And then also warlocks get an expanded spell list. We're going to come back to this, but these are just spells that a warlock can choose instead of their normal warlock spells when they would learn a new spell. We're going to come back to these in a moment, because I want to talk to actually about the level 6 feature first. This is kind of the feature that to me makes this class so cool, Wyrm's Breath. By 6th level, your draconic endowment has altered your very being, empowering your breath with draconic magic. You can use your breath as a spell casting focus for spells you cast. So just can be your, instead of having a wand or a staff or something. And additionally, when you cast a damaging pact magic spell that targets only one creature and doesn't have a range of self, you can cause that spell to target each creature in a 30-foot line or each creature in a 15-foot cone instead. And once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So that's kind of the core feature here, is you can make your spells into your cool dragon breath weapon. And that's why, I gave them certain spells in this. I gave them Chromatic Orb, which means you can just have it. That's a single target damaging spell that can do any damage type, basically. You can have a big cold breath weapon, fire breath weapon, lightning breath, whatever you want.
Who would be a great Wyrm patron is Tiamat.
Tiamat would be a very good Wyrm patron. I did not actually write Tiamat for some reason, but that was
I didn't think of it until just now when you just said, like, you have this, it's designed around the chromatic orb, but lets you do all the different dragon chromatic colors of, like, breath. Anyway, Tiamat would be a good one, too. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, this is kind of the big feature of this class. This is like I feel like you want every subclass, you want to have something in it that defines it, and this is that for this one, a very unique effect.
Yep, absolutely. And there are a couple of cool spells in here, like Chromatic Orb, Wrathful Smite. There are some smites in here to help you do those melee combat. Haste is a spell in here that helps you. These are just cool options that you can roll with. V-Bunny in chat was asking, does this include Eldritch Blast for the Wyrm's Breath? The answer is yes and no. Eldritch Blast is weird because you level up, it gets multiple targets. So after 5th level, it doesn't actually, because you have more than one Eldritch Blast. So by the time you actually get Wyrm's Breath as a feature, you can't use Eldritch Blast as an AoE. You can still shoot it out of your mouth because your mouth is now your spellcast. Your breath is your spellcast now. So you can still just go blop blop blop, just blast lasers out of your mouth if you want, like Godzilla. But yeah, you can't make it an AoE.
What would be the interaction with haste on this, Jeremy? You could do a haste breast with this and speed up a whole bunch of people at once. Is that correct?
No. The intention is it's only damaging abilities for this.
Okay, that's what it is. So
because I was really concerned exactly about that. I didn't want people to be able to be like, let me haste 6 people with this one.
So
spell.
It won't work with something like Hold Person. Because I know originally you had wanted Hold Person to be one of it.
Yeah, and again, that with this implementation, it wouldn't work. It's kind of a constraint of how much power can I really put in this, and it's already very strong.
Yeah, it's a wild feature. There's so much potential for this thing to break. So I think that's definitely the right choice. Is to keep
Which
it
bolt
very,
gets a boost, boys? Oh my god, you're right. It does, V-Bunny. That's a very, very cool use of Witch Bolt.
Yeah, breathe that lightning that continues to. Yeah, very, very neat.
That's very cool to me, frankly. I think that's so neat. I love that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that being very good, which it's definitely very good. But do you want to talk about Ancient? Well, I don't even know if we need to talk about Ancient Will. At 10th level, you get a use of Legendary Resistance.
Yeah, you can just save when you want to save.
Which is obviously very good, but I don't think it's particularly controversial. And then your 14th level feature, I believe, just buffs up all of your other features.
Exactly. 14th level is really straightforward, real simple. Your Draconic Endowment, your claws do an extra 2d8 points of damage. You choose the type of damage, whether it's fire, acid, cold, etc. And then your Dragon Breath feature can be used twice instead of once. So you can breathe, an AoE blast twice instead of once. So just a fun little thing there. And then I also created an Eldritch Invocation for this class because I thought it would be cool if this was a melee character that wanted to actually fight in melee a lot, not just when they had their Draconic Endowment up, because they can only do that endowment short, certain number of times. And I figured it would be cool to, let them do that with their Pact of the Blade weapon, or if they wanted to get a, the improved Pact weapons for their claws, so +1, claws, etc. After he pointed it out, yeah, I noticed it too. I need to change this to Wyrm's Breath in the master's form. So you caught it. You caught my error. But I'll fix that in the next pass. And yeah, that's just about it. I mean, it's a fun subclass for a character who wants to gain cool warlock powers from a dragon. Does everything I want it to do. So
yeah, it's a great take on that archetype.
Now we have another one here, Pete, that I put together, and we'll probably try and get through this one a little quicker. This is the Knight Cleric, or Knight Divine Domain for Clerics.
Yeah, Knight Cleric's a little simpler too, I think. So.
Yeah. So moving through this one, the concept was it's the divine domain of night, right? It is that kind of shadow in the sky, casting darkness upon the world. It's definitely got an evil kind of vibe to it, but in the lore write-up, I tried to make it seem like, you know, maybe your character doesn't see themselves as evil. Maybe they see themselves as doing, you know, something for the greater good, right? They have to wear this dark mantle for the sake of society or for the sake of what have you. I am the shadow that flaps in the night. Precisely. But yeah, it's a pretty cool little divine domain. Its main feature is kind of this mantle of darkness. At first level, you can call forth darkness to ward off an approaching threat. When you're attacked by a creature within 5 feet of you that you can see, you can use your reaction to conjure a shroud of magical darkness, which emanates from you in a 5-foot radius before the attack is rolled. So if the creature can't see through darkness, then they have disadvantage on their attack against it. And the darkness lasts until the end of your next turn. And you can only use this a certain number of times. It's limited by your wisdom modifier. So just a simple little, you can make darkness.
As is a pretty common mechanic for first level cleric features. A lot of the times you'll get a resource that ties to the wisdom modifier like that. Also at first level, I mean, you get your domain spells, and you got some cool ones picked out, Jeremy.
Yeah, I did. I really liked Dissonant Whispers, right? It's those
my personal favorite as well is definitely Dissonant Whispers.
Yeah, I mean, other ones I also really like. I really like Shadow of Moyle. It's a very, very cool, like higher level. You know, shadows are whipping off of you, being spooky and evil. Modify Memory is one that I really liked. I like the idea of people forgetting things in the darkness. I don't know, like, you know, you go out to go check on the horses in the barn. You're halfway to the barn and you don't remember what you're doing, right? What was I doing? I don't know.
It's got a style. Obfuscation, confusion, all kind of tie into the theme, I think, for sure. And then you also get night vision, which is you can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, up to a range of 60, which is both necessary for the way that the whole cleric is built, and of course, a night cleric would be able to see in the dark. Of course, they would. Like,
go into the kitchen for a midnight snack and forgetting what you came for. Yeah, exactly. You open the refrigerator. What was I looking for in here?
It's
a very mundane example, but it works.
We'll take the Channel Divinity here. I really like this Channel Divinity.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to say about this before I get too far. I made a couple of changes from the previous version that we made in the design dash to here. Design dash, whatever we call that, lab experiment. I got rid of the cantrip that I'd given them before, because I just seemed like a little over the top, too much, and it didn't even fit super thematically. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Also, I made the Mantle of Darkness very similar in how it works to the Light Cleric's Blinding Light, or whatever it's called. I thought it was fun to have two sides of the same coin almost.
The parallel there. Well, I like that wait, does it not do the... It still it still uses the obscuring mechanics, correct?
No, the Light Cleric I think actually blinds.
I'm saying this uses the obscuring mechanic.
Yeah, this uses the darkness.
Okay, yeah, I was confused. I thought you were saying that it also blinded, and I was like,
no, mechanically different, but thematically very similar.
I actually like that mechanical difference. I like that this.
I do too.
It kind of gives flavor to it that you're just making it dark. And also there's going to be interesting enemies that you fight that this is useless against because it's just magical darkness, like devils, for example.
Well, and moving forward, we have our second level feature, Cloak of Shadows. This is a channel divinity option. Clerics only get a limited number of channel divinities, so that's kind of a natural limiter in here. And it's you can enshroud yourself in a swirling cloak of semi-solid shadow. As an action, you can cause shadows to spread outwards from you in a 10-foot radius and move with you, dispersing after 1 minute. For the duration, the area is lightly obscured and becomes difficult terrain for creatures other than those you designate when you use this feature. And when you use this feature, you can extinguish all non-magical flames within 30 feet of you as part of the same action. So it's just kind of like the darkness welling out from you and putting out the lights. Once before the shadows fade, as an action, you can force one creature within the shadows to make a Constitution save against your spell save DC. On a failure, the shadows darken for that creature, and it treats the area as being heavily obscured. A creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself as a success. So the idea is, right, you have this kind of roiling mass of shadows. It's not darkness, but for one creature, you can kind of pull that light away and make it darkness. So I like that a lot. It just seemed very cool to me.
Agreed.
I don't know. Just seemed like I'd want to do that. Fun.
I really like the name of the next feature, Bump in the Night here, which is your 6th level cleric feature, which is at beginning of that level when a creature ends their turn within the shadows or darkness created by one of your cleric spells or abilities. So a lot of the stuff that you do, they cannot gain advantage on saving throws against your cleric spells. So very straightforward feature here. You can't get advantage on spells while you're in the darkness. You're better at casting, targeting people that are in your darkness, which is presumably what you're trying to do with this class. So it works. Also at 8th level, they go with the potent spell casting instead of the, is it called Divine Strike? Am I right? I'm not.
Yeah, Divine Strike is the other one. Pete, before we go too far, I saw there was an awesome comment in the chat that I missed. Apologies. From Leo the Lion. Welcome, Leo. Great to see you. And that was asking if the Mantle of Darkness is the same as the spell Darkness. And that is such an interesting thing, because in making this is way more complicated than I ever imagined it would be. In 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, the spell Darkness says it creates magical darkness and says that magical darkness can't be seen through by creatures with dark vision. But everywhere else in the book, and all the books, the Dungeon Master Guide, the Monster Manual, Player's Handbook, wherever it mentions darkness or magical darkness, it makes no distinction about creatures with dark vision not being able to see through it, except for with the Warlock's Eldritch Invocation,
which lets you see through.
Devil's Sight, which lets you see through magical darkness.
Magical darkness.
So there's this weird implication built into the system that magical darkness blocks dark vision, but it never is directly said anywhere. So I actually can't answer that question fully, Leo. I didn't envision it that way. I envisioned that this darkness, although it is magically created darkness, wouldn't necessarily block the vision of creatures with dark vision. I imagined if you had dark vision, you'd be able to see through this. But I don't think it necessarily makes a huge difference one way or the other. Yeah, it's just really weird. The only time they mention that creatures with dark vision can't see through magical darkness is in the darkness spell. It's really strange. Common wisdom would say otherwise. But
in terms of the balance of whether or not it is, yeah, I mean, the only thing that it changes is it makes it more effective against creatures with dark vision in dark, or just, I guess, just more effective against creatures with dark vision, which...
Yeah. I don't see this as being powerful enough, personally, that it makes a huge difference one way or the other.
Yeah, I thought it was intended to be magical darkness that was opaque.
Magical, it's the problem with the design of 5e. Magical darkness isn't a keyword, but they use it as a keyword all over the place. Which kind of makes it a keyword. Anyway, the bottom line is, I actually thought that was how you intended it, Jeremy, was to be opaque darkness, and I personally think it works. Yeah, as that. It's up to I think the dungeon master and the player, like, how they want to rule that, because I think there are other ways to make darkness in the game besides the darkness spell, like what the Arms of Hadar, I think, makes
It creates an area of darkness, I believe. Yeah, but I don't know if it has
right?
that
It
text on it. Well, regardless, do you want to
yeah
take the last feature here, Jeremy?
yeah. Please, I'm sorry. Well, I get
Yeah, I'll grab
really
Lost in the
obsessed
Dark.
with this. Please, can you read Lost in the
Yeah,
Dark?
I'll
Because this
take
is
Lost in the Dark.
spoopy feature.
Starting at 17th level, when a creature ends its turn in an area of shadows or darkness created by one of your cleric spells or abilities, you can use your reaction to cause the creature to make a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, the creature disappears, banished to an otherworldly realm of eternal night. The creature remains banished indefinitely, or until they escape by means of a plane shift spell or similar magic. A creature with 50 or more hit points remaining automatically succeeds on this saving throw. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, a minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So you get a bunch of kind of reaction finishers on weakened targets, which at 17th level, presumably, um, there's not a lot of things that you're going to encounter that have less than 50 hit points to start, but I guess that is also a possibility.
Yeah, the way I saw this is like, honestly, like when I'm creating a spell like this, I kind of think of in my mind, what's the most dramatic situation that this works in, right? That like this could happen. And the weird one that I can't, and it's I don't know if you do that, Pete, or if anyone else does that with their design, but like the dramatic fantasy that came to mind here, right, is like the players are on the brink of some big, battle or whatever, and they're in the throne room of some king, and they're like, you have to help us with this thing, and the king's like, I will not do this, and he's obviously like corrupted or whatever, and the cleric just gets angry and banishes them, and they're just gone, and it's just this dramatic turn.
Well, it's also just the optics of them like approaching someone, and then like the darkness spills out from them, and then the darkness like recedes, and it's just the cleric standing there. Yeah, it's very cool.
Absolutely, it's very spoopy.
And that's the night cleric.
Yeah, V-Bunny's saying banishing like the banishment spell. No, this is banishing like they're in this other place indefinitely until they escape by means of a plane shift spell or similar magic. Right, I didn't reference the banishment spell specifically for a reason, because I wanted it to be distinct and different. I hope it's not too confusing in that regard, but yeah, that's the direction I went with.
Yeah, I don't think banishing is a keyword in 5e.
No, it's not. There are no keywords in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. They hate them, apparently. And actually, I looked up the Hunger of Hadar spell, and turns out Hunger of Hadar creates an area of utter blackness, not darkness. So I think, I'm pretty sure there is no intended distinction. Like, that, I don't know. It's dumb. It's stupid.
We need some sage advice right now.
Jeremy Crawford, why do you do this?
Why?
I like that thought. I like thinking about that kind of stuff because as a designer, it's important to like understand when you get to this point, right? This is a pretty polished product. It's in good shape. It's not perfect, but it's really solid. I'd be happy with this the way it is. I am happy with this the way it is right now. And so it's just like remembering those little things and thinking about that stuff that like makes the difference, really, I think.
One last comment I want to point out here from Frosty Pirate, which was being able to have your work inspire stories in your own or others' mind is kind of the whole purpose of what we do, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fair.
You hit the nail on the head there, Frosty. But Jeremy, these are both great, man.
Yeah, there were two other, and I know we're kind of behind. Well, actually, we're not doing too bad for scheduling, frankly, right now.
We're a touch behind.